Two industrial scientists who don't mind getting their hands dirty when it comes to establishing the facts. Join them on their mission to explore the extraordinary behind the ordinary. In this edition, dams. We go deep down underground to reveal the secrets of dams.
It's quite claustrophobic in that time.
And Richard and Johnny accidentally flood a small village.
Johnny, you've broken it!
Plus, we reveal how life-saving respirators are tested. Johnny finds a way to beat the speed camera. And Richard turns ruthless robber to find out if motion sensors can be beaten.
They can cost hundreds of millions of pounds.
And take over 10 years to build.
And can have the strength to hold back over 30 trillion litres of water.
We are, of course, talking about dams!
They are amongst the biggest man-made constructions on Earth and have a huge impact on their surrounding environment. But what exactly do they do?
Dams can be used to prevent flooding, to irrigate farmland, to produce hydroelectric power, but most importantly, to provide fresh drinking water to our towns and cities.
And the fact that I can get a glass of this from the tap whenever I want to is largely because somewhere up the chain is a whacking great dam managing our water supply.
So quite simply, without dams, modern life as we know it just wouldn't be the same.
There are around 45,000 large dams in the world, and one of the most famous is the Hoover Dam in America. Construction started in 1931, and when it was completed in 1936, it was considered to be one of the 7 engineering wonders of the world. But before building, the course of the powerful Colorado River had to be temporarily altered. Huge diversion tunnels were blasted through the canyon walls, sending millions of litres of water away from the construction site. The project required 21,000 workers, and the dam contains enough concrete to build a skyscraper over 4 kilometres high.
Building a dam is an incredible feat, and before you even lay the foundation stones, you've got the not inconsiderable task of diverting a river like this one first.
You can really see how much material goes into building one of these things. Look at the size of those concrete blocks.
Yeah, imagine how difficult it must have been to get all that lot down here.
It's amazing.
But why concrete?
I've no idea.
I feel an experiment coming on.
We're going to build 3 small-scale dams to test just how good concrete is at holding back water compared to mud and clay or rubble.
Hold on, mate, don't forget your hard hat, which were, incidentally, invented during the building of the Hoover Dam in the 1930s.
Well, I'll be...
Oh, no, don't say it.
First, rubble. Around 5,000 years ago, the Egyptians built a dam using rubble and stone. It held back a massive 600 million litres of water.
Right, you happy with that?
That's done.
Ready to test?
Absolutely, go for it.
Oh, here it comes.
It's going straight through the... It's going straight through the gaps. There goes the fence. The tractor's off. The tractor's just killed the horse. It's pouring through the gaps. It's an abject failure, and it's carnage in the village.
And that's pretty much what happened to the ancient Egyptians' dam, because they didn't know how to seal it, so water percolated through. However, what destroyed it was heavy rain. The experience proved so traumatic they didn't try building another one for many moons.
That rubble was useless, wasn't it?
Rubble. Big trouble.
Yes. The water just washed straight through the gaps, so this time we're going to be using mud and clay. Right, let's start with the clay first.
Oh, yes.
And then we can put the mud on top.
Yeah, make little clay sausages out of it. Lovely.
This material was used to build dams in Turkey over 3,000 years ago, and it's still used to build some dams today.
Perfect. Patted down, finished, job done. What's your prediction?
I'm very confident.
Me too. It's immediately building up a head of water here, look at it.
We're getting a reservoir.
That is already much better than the rubble, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's holding well, look at this.
Much, much, much better.
Oh, look. The first breakthrough here. Here it comes. Here it goes. Oh, and on the other side.
Oh, dear.
The farmer's field is flooded. Oh, look, it's spreading across the bottom now. Look at this, mate. Look.
They've only just rebuilt after the last disaster. I really feel for them.
I think I would issue an evacuation immediately.
Yeah.
These dummies mimic human breathing through the mouth or nose to save lives, because what they do is test dust masks. First, a particle penetration test. The dust mask is glued onto a piece of plastic and screwed into an airtight box. A liquid solution of sodium chloride, or salt to you and I, gets sent through these pipes and turned into solid salt particles. Salt is used because it is safer than dust and can be monitored more accurately. Particles are blown through a tube into the box, while another tube behind the mask sucks the salty air out. After a set time, the computer measures the percentage of salt particles which have penetrated through the mask. This one has passed. Meet the CO2 man. His job is to test that there's no build-up of carbon dioxide inside the mask as you breathe out. He's attached to an artificial pair of lungs which breathe air in and out. The balloon with the unfortunate noise is used as an overflow system to ensure the circulating air is kept at a constant level. Extra carbon dioxide is added to the mixture so that he exhales the same amount of CO2 that we do, about 5%. The dust mask is placed over his head and he sets about taking 25 breaths per minute. The computer monitors the amount of carbon dioxide build-up inside the mask. It must be under 1% to be safe. This one is a pass. All respirators also get a total leakage test, this time using a human guinea pig. He puts the device on and steps into this testing booth with a running machine, some fans, and some text to read. The salt is blown into the booth and tester Mike starts walking at 6 kilometres an hour whilst carrying out a variety of tests. These include moving his head from side to side and up and down and reading aloud from a passage on the wall.
When the sunlight strikes raindrops in the air, they act like a prism and form a rainbow.
After each test, the computer measures how much salt has penetrated into the mask. Has this respirator done enough to pass? Yes.
I love this part of the show because we get to indulge in a bit of mechanical mayhem as we cut things open to see what's inside them.
Our challenge this time is to save you 3 points on your driving licence by putting angle grinder to speed camera.
Most of these cameras are triggered when a speeding car drives over sensors under the road, positioned a few metres before the camera. As the car enters the markings, a flash photo is taken. Exactly half a second later, a second picture is taken. Police can precisely work out the car's speed by the distance it has travelled over the markings. The Truvelo speed camera is one of 9 varieties used in the UK.
Halfway. Yeah, it's going to start getting tough now.
700 of this manufacturer's cameras are positioned around the country. Well, better make that 699. And each one costs around £30,000.
There's the culprit. There's the cause of so much misery.
Good as new.
What's that? Rubbish. Say cheese.
This must be the... Is this film?
They're big reels of film.
There's a lot of it, isn't there?
Each film can capture 600 speeding motorists.
Oh, Johnny, I'll see you in your Porsche.
I can see you in your Robin Reliant.
That saved a lot of people points. That's good news.
Right, what about the rest of this gubbins? Should we do it?
And before we did this to it, it could catch drivers speeding at up to 304 kilometres per hour.
Oh. That was proper grinder action, man.
You're not wrong.
Still to come, Richard does his best to outwit a high-tech security system.
Johnny, that is... Oh, my word!
And can the boys survive one of the strongest forces on Earth? Earlier, Richard and Johnny built one dam from rubble.
It's going straight through the...
And one from mud and clay. Both failed.
It's now time to move on to the modern material, concrete.
But it's not as modern as you may think. The Romans invented it over 2,000 years ago, and remains have shown that they used concrete in their dams.
Keep that muck coming.
It also allowed them to construct the Colosseum in less than 10 years.
Is that nearly finished then?
I'd say so.
It's looking quite wet.
Well, concrete can take up to 100 years to set properly, and there are actually dams in service now where the concrete in the middle is still drying.
I haven't got 100 years to wait, mate. I'm getting the water now.
Oh, no worries.
Do you want another bucket?
Yeah, give it a go.
OK.
Yeah, now this is increasing the pressure, and still no sign of breakthrough.
If we were building our own dams, we'd be right on the mark with this one.
The citizens of the village are safe.
Hooray!
Now, this is working brilliantly, and the reason that concrete is such an ideal material for building dams is that when it's dry, it's virtually impermeable.
And concrete is also phenomenally strong, and it actually gets stronger under pressure, which is exactly what happens when a reservoir presses against it.
There are four main types of dam: the arch dam, the buttress dam, the gravity dam, and the embankment dam. The arch dam tends to be built in narrow valleys where it can be attached to the hills on either side. The buttress dam, which has these extra supports on the downriver side, can be used to make very wide, shallow reservoirs.
Gravity dams rely solely on their weight to hold back the water, and therefore require vast amounts of concrete to construct, and that can cost a lot of money, whereas embankment dams are constructed out of natural materials like earth and clay, and can prove a much cheaper option.
Enough lecturing. Time for the boys to see under a gravity dam.
Noel, how deep are we going?
We're going to be going down about 40 metres.
And you've got a lift, haven't you, here?
I'm sorry we haven't.
No?
170 steps to follow now, I'm afraid.
All right, we'll crack on.
Normally, no one is allowed inside these huge structures, but nothing stops our boys.
Is it all candlelit down here?
Aye, we've got lights.
This dam in Wales was first built by the Victorians to provide a clean water supply to the city of Birmingham.
You can just stand up straight, can't you?
Even though it was finished over 100 years ago, some of the concrete in these walls has only just completely set.
Oh, I love that damn smell.
Yeah, it's quite claustrophobic in that tunnel, though, isn't it?
Definitely. Is this the wall holding the water back?
That's true.
How much is behind there?
There's 6,000 million litres of water behind that wall.
I could have sworn I just felt a drip there.
Don't worry. Condensation.
Right, so I guess this is quite a thick wall.
It is. It's actually as thick as the dam is high.
40 metres?
We're talking 40 metres thick, yeah.
Quite some wall.
And that's entirely concrete with a brick facade, is it?
That's correct.
I told you concrete was the best. It was number one in our test.
Coming up, things get a lot less serene as Richard and Johnny find out just what it's like when a dam lets water through.
I think you've broken it!
And experience firsthand the sheer force of one of the fastest whitewater rivers in the country.
You hear music like this, and see pictures like this, and straight away you know you're about to witness a movie heist involving a high-tech security system that no one has ever cracked. Usually because it's got a shed load of these laser beams. They look awesome, but are laser security systems just the invention of fertile movie minds? I'm afraid the answer is yes. This is just red wool lit by torches. Real security systems look like this. The technology is based on infrared, not lasers. This tower contains transmitters firing out a series of horizontal beams, which are picked up by the receivers in this tower. And as you can see, they're completely invisible, but I can assure you they really do exist. Watch this. Now, I'm not going to let a few infrared beams keep me from the priceless gem. But before I turn cat burglar, I'm going to get the security company rep to give me some more information. Right. How do I crack the system and where are the weak points?
Well, actually, this is a high-level security system, so it's very, very difficult to defeat. Not only are the infrared beams invisible, but we can supply beam towers up to 4 metres high with 20 beams inside.
What if I nip a wire?
That's going to give you an alarm.
Is it?
Yeah. And you will probably be detected before you even get as far as getting the cover off.
And what's the distance between a transmitter and receiver?
On an outdoor installation, up to 150 metres.
That's a long way.
It is a long way.
And who buys them?
From VIPs to the military, to royal palaces, to borders. The list is endless.
Right. I'll tell you what. I'll be the first one to crack it. Not much joy from the insider then, but I'd done a bit of homework and brought my own bag of tricks which are definitely going to help me beat the system and get me that diamond. Right. Always works in the movies. Special glasses. That's absolute rubbish, can't see a thing. Okay, let's try an aerosol spray. I've seen this done before. Nothing, come on. Okay, maybe a cloud of talcum powder. Nothing. Good for baby, rubbish for robbery. Right, it's time to go more high-tech. I've got a special camera with night vision. Okay, let's have a look at this. Ah, that is superb. I can see the transmitters behind the screen. That's the good news. The bad news is there's loads of them. My God, there's loads of them. Right, I can't go under, I can't go through. I'm going over the top. Right, up we go. Oh no, it's a pressure switch. So there you have it. In the movies, they reach the prize. In real life, you won't.
Hi, Rich. What are you doing?
I'm going to plant myself some veggies.
What, in the middle of this big field?
Yeah, all of it.
It's going to take you ages, isn't it?
I've got a trowel.
You don't need a trowel, you need a tractor.
I've got a trowel.
Should Richard change his mind, he could visit the Massey Ferguson factory in France to see how tractors are built. These cost up to £50,000 to buy. Here, 3,000 people make over 75 tractors a day. The machine shop makes up the parts for the rear axle and gearbox. Some of the parts must go through the heat treatment process. The metal here is being heated up to 8,000 degrees Celsius. And then instantly cooled. This makes the parts strong enough to withstand the pressure of pulling huge loads of both tractor and heavy implements. The rear axle is assembled next. The differential is added here. That's the box that sends power to the wheels, letting them rotate at different speeds so that you can turn corners. While the rear axle is completed, the gearbox is assembled. You may be used to a car gearbox with 4 or 5 gears. These tractors have up to 24. Next, the engines are fitted with radiators and all of the necessary cooling, fuel and hydraulic connections. While the gearbox, engine and axles are fitted together, did you know the first commercially made tractors were produced in 1948? The maker? Supercar specialists Lamborghini. The cab is top of the range and features 2 types of suspension settings, one for the road and one for the field. State-of-the-art windows are added which keep noise levels low inside the cab. Before the tractor can leave the assembly line, a computer tests all of the controls and the electrics. Next, the fuel tank gets bolted onto the chassis and the cab is finally lowered down onto it. All of the parts are fitted together. The wheels are the last thing to go on. Surprisingly, they're inflated to a pressure lower than a car tyre, no more than 20 psi, but they weigh up to half a tonne. In 2005, a Russian man undertook the longest ever journey in an unmodified tractor. He covered around 21,000 kilometres, and it took him over 3 months.
Dams don't always hold water back. Sometimes they have to let it through. For example, if there's a threat to the dam's integrity or they need to increase supply downriver, then they'll open the valves.
Go on, Johnny, really let it rip.
Right.
Go on! Johnny, you've broken it!
This valve alone can release over 8,000 litres of water a minute.
Now that is a lot of water! Turn it off! Turn it off! Now, there are a few dams in the country where a release of water can be requested by anyone.
You might be a farmer downriver who just needs a bit more water released to irrigate their land.
Or an environmental group concerned that lower water levels downriver are compounding the effects of pollution.
But you do have to pay. For water to be released for a whole day, it can cost £1,500.
But despite the cost, an increasing number of people are requesting the release of water so they can enjoy thrill-seeking recreational pursuits.
And one of the most popular of those leisure activities on this river is whitewater rafting. But just how much difference can a release of water from a dam upriver make?
Well, we're not moving at all at the moment, and the river is just flowing gently. But we've been told that they're going to release a load of water from the dam up above, and this river is going to turn into a monster.
With the dam open, the amount of water flowing down this river increases to a massive 900 million litres. That's 50 times the normal amount, which means the boys will be travelling down it 10 times faster than normal.
Whoa! This is the biggest drop on the river.
That's a big one! Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Without that dam up there, we couldn't do this today. And more places across the UK are taking advantage of dams to have fun. Let's do it again, come on.
Sounds like a damn good idea to me.
For that, you're carrying the raft, mate.
Join Richard and Johnny next time for more fascinating facts and revelations.
Do you want some help?
Real security systems look like that.
The outside in and the inside out.
Hey, come on, let's do it. Let's go crazy.
Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, and cut there.